Though 2020, APC forecloses neck before primaries. APC forecloses neck before primaries. That's the lead story in Nigerian Tribune. Says decision on direct primary waiver irreversible. Get details of that on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. Okay, coming down, we see a picture of President Muhammadu Buhari and his immediate family observing the Eid al-Fitr celebrations at the State House Abuja on Sunday. And beside the picture, Ondo 2020 APC National Working Committee mulls indirect primary for Ondo. Akeredolu's deputy seals packed for tickets. You see details of that on pages 23 and 24. Southeast governors meet in Enugu, explain delay in takeoff of zonal security outfit. That's on page 3. Troops kill 200 bandits in Zamfara. Katsina, 35 terrorists. That's on page 29. War in government as Dabiri Erewa Pantami fight dirty on Twitter. Pantami used armed officers to evict our staff. Dabiri Erewa alleges it is not true. Minister, that's coming from the minister NCC. All right, let's go up above the lead story. Only a miracle. Only a big miracle will wipe out coronavirus, says Pastor Adeboye. No rift between Makinde and me. That's according to Oyo Deputy Governor. You see it on page 2. Teenager fakes own death to avoid financial pressure from mother. Wow. That story is on page 29. Let's go above masthead. COVID-19, CBN will reduce cash reserve ratio by 22.5%. That story is on front page, continues on page 25. And lastly, Kogi Guba judgment miscarriage of justice. Kogi Guba judgment of miscarriage. Kogi Guba judgment miscarriage of justice. All right, that's coming from PDP, says it will appeal. All right, I leave it there and move to the next paper with me. That's the New Telegraph newspaper. New Telegraph. Northern Muslims defy Sultan, observe Eid prayers outside. You see it on pages 3 and 6. Churches resume worship services in Kano and Cross River. We have pictures here showing the Eid al-Fitr celebrations in Sokoto, Kano, Jigawa and Borno. Southeast governors, leaders dump community policing, direct state assemblies to enact joint security law. Umahi says we disagreed with IGP over execution. You see it on page 7. All right, a research work here. New urine test raises hope for kidney stone patients. New urine test raises hope for kidney stone patients. You see it on page 8. Let's move up now. Above lead story. Dangote Cement posts 88.06 billion naira profit in 3 months. That's on page 3. COVID-19, private school owners seek revolving loan. That's on page 7. No money for food importation, Buhari tells Nigerians. Page 3. Akwa Ibom, panic in government house as 10 journalists test positive. Story on page 30. Right above masthead. Tier 1 banks' assets hit 31.84 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2020. Finally, illegal mining. Federal government mounts pressure on Osun to surrender 17 Chinese. You see that story on page 25. And I move to the leadership newspaper. How Nigeria can quickly exit COVID-19 induced recession. This is coming from experts. You see it on page 4. Suggests cutting cost of governance, full deregulation, and others. Urge northern governors to diversify region's economy. President Muhammadu Buhari insists on local production of food, says no more money for importation. Elumelu, world leaders to discuss Africa's post-COVID-19 recovery. We see a picture of President Buhari with his wife Aisha and children after observing the Eid prayers at the presidential villa yesterday. Beside the picture, we have COVID-19 updates as at May 24, 2020. Confirmed cases 7,839. Discharged patients 2,263. A number of deaths 226. That's according to the NCDC. Eid al-Fitr, governors, ACF, Etsunupe, tax Muslims on Ramadan lessons. Get details on front page, continued on page 6. Bottom strip stories. UK sends 3 more flights to evacuate 900 nationals from Nigeria. Story on page 22. Also on 22, federal government approves state funding of research by 6 medical colleges. All right. Moving on to APC National Working Committee may adopt indirect primaries in Ondo's governorship. You see it on page 24. Foreign group alleged plots to subvert justice in Malabu oil suit. That story can be found on page 22. Alright, I'll move up just below masthead. Traders predict over subscription of 150 billion naira Sukuk bond. And Taj Bank appointed receiver agent. Alright, story on front page, continued on page 4. 1,015 terrorists killed, 84 arrested in 2 months. Coming from Buratai. You see that story on page 2. And that's all from Leadership newspaper. I'll move to this day. This day newspaper is the next one here. Buhari laments rising COVID-19 cases. Says upsurge. Patients turned back as hospital beds fill up in Lagos. Private healthcare facilities not reporting pandemic deaths for fear of closure. Mortuaries full in Cross Rivers, Edo, Imo, Kogi, Lagos. 313 fresh cases raise count to 7,839 with 2,063 persons discharged, while we have we still see a picture of President Buhari with his first family. Alright, let's move up now above master. Domestic investors dominate as stock market attracts 756 billion naira. That story has some part of it in front page, continued on page 9. And lastly, Southeast governors seek laws for regional security agencies. You see it on page 8. Coming down below masthead, assembly speakers hail president's executive order on financial autonomy. Governors yet to discuss presidential directive, says Fayemi. Get details of this story from this day newspaper. And we'll make a pause here as we go for a quick break. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned.
How do I get tested? If you fall into any of these previously mentioned categories, remain in self-isolation and immediately call your state hotline or the NCDC toll-free line on the screen. The State Ministry of Health, supported by NCDC, will arrange for sample collection and transportation to the lab. Where can I get tested? There are several labs across Nigeria for the testing of COVID-19, and these labs are currently rapidly being expanded across the country to reduce turnaround time from when the samples are taken to when they are tested for the disease. And you can only get tested if you fit the criteria as previously mentioned and a sample has been collected for testing by the state team. What do I do if my COVID-19 test is positive? If your result is positive, please do not panic. Many people who have the infection will show mild symptoms and they can recover quickly with just supportive care. And most of the cases recorded till date in Nigeria are mild to moderate and are clinically stable. What do I do if my COVID-19 test is negative? If your result is negative, it means that you are not infected at the time your sample was taken. However, it is still possible to get infected. Therefore, you should continue to practice social distancing. Wash your hands with soap and running water all the time. Use alcohol-based hand rub frequently and clean your environment all the time. Should I come to the Nigeria Center for Disease Control to get tested? No. If you fall into any of these previously mentioned categories, please remain in self-isolation and immediately call your state hotline or the NCDC toll-free line on the screen.
Welcome back. It is still the newspaper headlines on ACNNTV. We shall continue with Nigerian Pilot newspaper. I will start just below the Nigerian Pilot masthead. 100 days of Governor Diri put smile on workers and retirees' faces. You see that story on page 9. SERAP drags federal government Wike to ECOWAS. ECOWAS court over rights violation. Okay, and it's on page 8. All right, the lead story says onslaught. Military airstrikes kill over 130 bandits in Zamfara and Katsina. Intelligence reports surveillance led to identification of camps. Hordes of notorious bandits destroyed. Remain resolute, restore normalcy in all parts of Nigeria. That's according to the CAS. You see the story on page 8 of Nigerian Pilots. Alright, still in the mood of Eid al-Fitr celebration, President with his family. Below the picture, there is no money for food importation, says President Buhari. Story on page 8. Communication Minister used armed men to evict my staff, says Abike Dabiri. Tension in Ebonyi communities over land disputes. Story on page 6. NBA supports Uzodinma's revocation of pension for ex-governors. Page 5. Nigerian army secretly trying soldier who criticized service chiefs on social media. Nigerian army secretly trying soldier who criticized service chiefs on social media. Nigerian Air Force vows to deal decisively with bandits, kidnappers in Katsina. Story on page 7. Lastly here, Niger Delta polluted environment facing systematic neglect. Story on page 35. All right, next one, Blueprint newspaper. On Salah Eve, Nigeria Air Force, I beg your pardon, kills 200 bandits in Katsina, Zamfara, multiple strikes. Troops neutralize 35 Boko Haram and ISWAP elements in Borno. Matawale insists on peace deal. Story on page 6. Coming down below picture, either victory, Sokoto, Borno, Zamfara. Others comply with COVID-19 protocol. Pages 13 and 14. Alright, COVID-19 will review our 2020 Hajj plan. That's according to NACON. NACON assures, congratulate Muslims on their victory. You see it on page 14. Buhari to farmers, no money for food importation. That's on page 24. UK judge dismisses $1.1 billion bribery against ENI and Shell. Page 26. State legislature. Lagos Akwa Ibom speakers loud Buhari on autonomy. That's on page 16. And moving up. COVID-19 cure. Buhari orders State Fund to fund research in 6 geopolitical zones. It will take miracle for pandemic to disappear, says Adeboye. Don't allow people import disease into Kogi. Bello tells residents. See it on page 24. Man, 48, nabbed for defiling daughters aged 6 and 9. That pathetic one is on page 6. Elumelu moderates as presidents, senators gather for UBA Africa Day. That story is on page 25. Alright, let's go to the next one, the Guardian newspaper. Panic as Buhari probes Abakari's office and others. Presidency aides silent amid intrigues. You see the story, it's on front page. Continued on page 6. And we see pictures of the Salah celebrations. And coming down, President okays funding for COVID-19 research and others. Medical Directors Guild laments delay. Catholic Secretariat tax federal government on local cure. How media should report pandemic. All this in front page and continued on page 6. Alright, and that's that. This is much you can take on today's newspaper headlines. I leave you with this quote. Great works are performed not by strength but by perseverance. Never stop fighting until you arrive your destined place. COVID-19 is still out there, but if we can persevere with the safety measures, we'll all come out victorious. Thank you for watching. I remain Charles Philip Wakola. Bye-bye.
Not that I mean to undermine polytechnics, they do a good job, but university education is actually more valuable.
What is a child supposed to do